today will cover the abode. And when it comes to the abode of the divine, we should understand the concept of Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma. For many, God is immanent. God can be approached. God can be understood. God can be personal. And God has a divine form. It can be realized. It can be seen. It can be felt. God is omnipresent and God is omniscient. In every atom of this world, God can be found. This concept is based on the idea that God is immanent. There is another concept. For many, God is transcendent and God is without form. But whenever needed, he can take a form and come to this world. So the supreme divine personality, according to those who believe God is formless or transcendent, believe that there is no divine form that human intellect can grasp when it comes to the supreme being. So these two concepts have been there, and the believers of both immanence and transcendence of the supreme being often clash with one another. Those who believe God being transcendent, especially the Vedanta philosophy, and if we look at the Abrahamic religions, Quran also believes that God is transcendent, so does Christianity. But especially the traditions in Vedic philosophy, where they worship Lord Vishnu as the Lord Supreme or Lord Mahesha or the goddesses, they believe that God is immanent. And they would consider the fact that God cannot be formless, while those who propagate God being transcendent believe that God cannot be in form, cannot be in the form that we can recognize, we can fathom. He is formless. He is so vast. He is the source of light. He is the source of power without a particular shape or form. Dear Sundar Sadhvi, on the basis of that, on the basis of these facts, immanence versus transcendence, the Vedic and Abrahamic traditions have different takes on the abode of the divine. But we are getting to the teachings of Mahamati Prannath. While Hinduism, certain sects of Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam state that God is transcendent, God does not have a particular shape or form, there are different places or different planes of consciousness according to all these three religions. As compared to Hinduism, we see some of these places. Bhurlok, the place that we are living right now, is called the earth in Christianity and Nasut in Islam. It's comparable. Patal, the seven ethereal worlds in Hinduism, are comparable to the place of Leviathan in Christianity, and they are called Tahatal Sura in Islam. Vaikunt, Satalok, that is where Lord Brahmaji, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Mahesha reside, is comparable to the concept of paradise in Christianity, and it is called Malkut in Islam. Nirakar, the place of infinite void or Shunya, is comparable to incorporeal in Christianity and La Makan in Islam. Akshardham, the place where Akshar Brahman, the creator of infinite number of universes, reside, is comparable to the lower heaven stated in Christianity and Jabrut in Islam. The concept of Paramdham, the supreme abode, the abode of Aksharatit Sri Krishna, is comparable to upper heaven in Christianity and Lahut in Islam. So, Paramdham, upper heaven, and Lahut, these are the highest planes of consciousness, the place or the abode of the Supreme Being. However, although the concepts are there, they could never be made clear by neither the Vedic nor the Abrahamic religious tradition. So, how does Lahut, the Paramdham, the abode of Khuda look like? If you look into Quran, you would not find the details of that divine abode. You would not find the details of it at all. If you look into Christianity, there is no detail for the supreme heaven. How does it look like? There is no details or descriptions of Paramdham. However, there are some basic scriptures that give credence to the fact that Paramdham indeed exists and what it looks like. Lord Mahesa states in Maheshwar Tantra, chapter 7, verse number 59 and verse number 60, Yamunaya pare kule nijadhama pratishtitam aparashmina maheshani dhama shyataksharasyati. The abode of Sri Krishna, Paramdham, is across the holy river Yamuna on the other side. O Parvati, across from it, the other side of it, is located the abode of Akshar Brahma, which is known as Akshardham. If you see this picture, so this is River Yamuna. It is largely based on the descriptions of Mahamati Prannaji, but the picture cannot accommodate the divinity, the glory of Paramdham. So it would not be all that Paramdham is, but this is the Paramdham that Lord Mahesha talked about. This is 9-story tall building known as Ranga Mahal. As we go into the teachings of Charsani or Britti or of Paramdham, that is the next class we may have in the future, where we would know about what Paramdham looks like. We'll get into the greater details of Paramdham. This is what Lord Mahesha said. Across from Yamuna river is Paramdham. And on the other side, which you cannot see in the picture, is the place of Akshara, known as Akshardham. When it comes to the abode of divine or the supreme being, Tejo Bindu Upanishad, chapter 6, verse number 67 states that Paramatma Param Jyoti Param Dhama Paragati Sarva Vedanta Saroyam Sarva Sastra Sunishtitah. The ever-variating, effulgent Supreme Divine Personality resides in Paramdham, an eternal divine realm. All the Vedas, Vedanta philosophy, and other scriptures give credence to the fact that the eventual place of souls and salvation for all is the same abode of the Lord Supreme, which is Paramdham. So the description of Paramdham being the place of ultimate refuge and salvation is found in Tejo Upanishad, one of the Upanishads. So the descriptions of Paramdham is, got disconnected?
You're fine.
Okay. So the description is found in the Upanishads as well. In Brahma Samhita, it is stated that beyond the realm of Akshara, or Akshara Brahma, is the realm of Aksharatita. Beyond the realm of Akshara resides the Aksharatita in Aksharatidam. None exists beyond him. His abode is considered to be transcendent and known as Paramdham. Akshara Brahma is one small part of the Supreme Being, and Akshara Brahma is also eternal. Dear Sundar Sati, these translations are true. These are not the real translation. We just try to uh, give it a try with what the reference means, but no way reflect exactly what the reference says. But Brahma Samhita states, Aksharatitame tadhi yasman nanyadhi vartate alaukika paramdhama tasmat aksharaivahi. The abode of the Supreme Being is alaukik, meaning beyond, far and beyond. It is beyond what we could grasp, transcendent. It is ever effulgent, radiating. So, such is the abode of the Lord Supreme, which is known as Paramdham. When it comes to the Supreme Being again, Brahma Vaivarta Purana also states that the Lord Supreme resides in his effulgent abode, known as Paramdham. In what form? In ever radiating youth form. We'll talk about the form of the Supreme Being in the coming sessions, but we quoted this to give credence to the fact that the abode of the Supreme Being is known as Paramdham. Chidadityam Kishorangam Pare Dhamni Virajitam Swarupam Satchidanandam Nirvikaram Sanatanam. The Lord Supreme resides in his effulgent abode, Paramdham, in his ever radiating youth form, devoid of all the natural impurities that we have as humans, are those that live in the perishable realm. He is beyond all of them. He is beyond time and space. Such Supreme Being is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, Satchidananda. Dear Sundar Sahib. So Mahamati Pranaji's take on the abode of the Supreme Being. Mahamati Pranaji states, on the basis of Mahamati Pranaji's teachings, he is neither Sakar nor Nirakar. He is neither with forms nor he is without forms. What do we mean by that? So Sakar Brahma, those who give a view that the Supreme Being is with divine form, is transcendent, though not transcendent, but those who believe that the God Supreme resides in every atom of this world, in the universe, he is omnipresent. Those who believe that God is personal, Mahamati Pranaji's philosophy says otherwise, because what was created, what is with form, eventually perishes. As Sankaracharya says, Sakarasya Vinashvasti. Everything that has form eventually collapses, is eventually destroyed, is eventually non-existent. So the God Supreme or the Supreme Divine Personality cannot be, could not be Sakar. So what he says is that he is not Nirakar either. He is not the cosmic void. He is not Nirakar because Nirakar is nothingness. And nothingness does not generate something. So there has to be something to produce something. I hope you're getting what I'm saying. We are here. That's why we have a world around us. I exist. That is why the world exists for me. I exist. That is why I could build a house. I exist in form. That is why I could build a house. I could buy a car. I could have a career. Things of that nature. So the Supreme Being could not be Nirakar or formless, according to Mahamati Pranath. So what is the divine form of the Supreme Being then? According to Mahamati Pranaji, Paramatma or the Supreme Being is Suddha Sakar, that is, embodying the eternal divine form. It is not a created form. It has always existed. And Mahamati says the description of Paramdham, the description of the abode of Aksharatit Sri Krishna Sri Raji Maharaj was brought to this world such that they could be awakened. If you look at the Vedic philosophies, Vedic literatures, and the Abrahamic texts, there is no descriptions. There are no enumerations about the form and abode of the Supreme Being. So they do not have place to rest their minds on. They do not have a place to meditate on. They do not have a point that they can single-mindedly focus on, because they've been calling God Nirakar, transcendent. So when they sit for meditation, their mind wanders around. They've been telling humanity that the heaven is magnificent. But magnificent like what? The details are not found anywhere. As such, when they sit for meditation, they cannot connect to the divine form of that Supreme Being, and they cannot travel across the divine abode of the Supreme Being, such that they could enjoy being in association with the Supreme Being and its abode, and find peace, tranquility, and balance in life. Because as Mahamati says, लेओगे जो दुख को तो दुख तुमको लागसे, लेओगे जो निज सुख को तो दुख तुमसे भागसे. So if we hold on to this world, the place of suffering, the place of infinite suffering, then we would always be upset, will always be sad. But if you can rest your mind on the blissful Paramdham, blissful Lord Supreme Aksharatit Sri Raji Maharaj, then all your sufferings would go away. So Mahamati Pranaji brought this understanding to this world in writing. That is what Sarsani is. That is what Briti is. So the descriptions of Paramdham is found across the revelations of Mahamati Pranaji. As he says in Sagar Grantha, one of the books compiled a part of Mahamati Pranaji's compilation, the book of Sagar, chapter 1, verse number 56, he says, Arasa mata aparahe dilmena ave vina sumara tathe lyau bit hisab ke jyun ruhe kare vichar. The wealth, the vastness, the majesty of the Supreme Abode Paramdham is infinite. It is unfathomable. It cannot be understood. It cannot be comprehended because it is so vast. However, if I were to stay mum, if I were to stay silent about it, then Sundarsas, then the consorts of the Lord Supreme who've come to this world to witness suffering, duality, would not be able to awaken themselves. That is why I brought Paramdham, the Supreme Abode, into these calculations that I brought them in. For example, if you look at the picture on the right, you would see this being Ranga Mahal, and you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This is a 9-story tall building This is called Ranga Mahal. And at the courtyard of Ranga Mahal, you would see a green tree and a red tree. And this is the courtyard. These are the stairs to get to the front door, the entrance of Ranga Mahal. Dear Sundar Sadhi, he has brought different concepts for the consorts of the Lord Supreme to understand Paramdham, have that lost connection with Paramdham and Sri Raji Maharaj established yet again by reminding them that this is the place you have been living eternally. This is the place and the first floor in that round Mul Milava meeting. That is where you are watching this cosmic and elusive, forgetful world of Maya that you are watching from. Dear Sundar Saji, Mahamati Pranaji brought this understanding of Paramdham to us such that we could be awakened. It is only for the consorts of the Lord Supreme. Now you may ask me, why such discrimination? It is not discrimination. You would give the password of your bank account to someone who you live your life with, who you can trust blindly, right? You do not go ahead and hand out your Bank of America password to everyone around you. You do not do that. The wealth of Paramdham is only for those who have come to this world from Paramdham. Having said that, while Bhagavad Gita was told only to Arjuna by Lord Sri Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, it came down to us. Now we can read Bhagavad Gita. We can understand the deep underlying messages of Bhagavad Gita, Purushottam Yoga, Karma Yoga, all these concepts pertaining to God. The world got it. It was available to the world. Similarly, the concept of Paramdham and the description came solely for the soul of Paramdham. However, it is now available to everyone to have a taste of. It is such a wonderful, magnificent opportunity to the world that such transcendent understanding has come to this world. Mahamati Pranaji further says in the verse right after it, in chapter 1, verse number 57, Arasa nahi sumarame so hakka lyaye mahe dil momina besumar lyaye sumarame mahe avana dil ruhana. It is basically telling the same thing. Arasa nahi sumarame. The supreme abode is not fathomed, cannot be comprehended, cannot be grasped, cannot be logically understood. But it is so vast, it is so transcendent, it is unlike something our mind can grasp. Just give you an example of it. When you hear that, you would be like, can that really happen? Because we have our worldly mind. What we have heard of, what we have seen, that is something that we tend to believe in. In Paramdham, what happens? The leaves from a tree never fall. In Paramdham, when you feel like eating a fruit, there are fruits all around Paramdham. When you feel like eating a fruit and you pluck one, it so happens that you have it replaced there already. You have one on the hand and it will be as it was. It does not happen in this world. It is not auto. In Paramdham, There are no consequences for your actions. Whatever you do, it ends up giving you more pleasure. Compare that to the world. Every step of your way, you have to be watchful. You have to be mindful. You have to fear for the consequences. When you drive, if you blink your eye for 5 seconds, you're probably dead. While you are driving 75 miles an hour, if you close your eyes for 5 seconds, your life is over, understand? When we drink something, if it's too hot, what happens? When I speak something out of my mind that is contrary to what the decorum is, I speak random words. I speak one bad word and every one of you would clock out of there. You leave and you would begin to say that Santa is crazy. How mindful and watchful do we have to be in this world? But in Paramdham, there is no fear of consequence. Such Paramdham, when brought into the world that we could understand, Mahamati Pranaji uses the words, the color, the measurements that we can understand. That's why the description is there. But it is not only that. It is not limited to his words and his description. Paramdham is much more and much more transcendent than that in terms of its rarity, in terms of its peculiarity, because it is peculiar. There is nothing like Paramdham, as we might say. Dear Sundar Saji, now the question comes, why no one could bring the details of Paramdham to the world? It is believed that Prophet Muhammad could get to the supreme abode, as it is called Arsa Azim in Quran. He could make it there. He had a discussion, he had a talk with the Supreme Being. We can say that he had a discussion with Raji Maharaj. There is no shame in saying that. He met Raji Maharaj. He was told, he was revealed some of the transcendent understanding the world had never heard before. But he didn't bring this understanding to this world. He did not describe the abode of Sri Raji Maharaj to the world. He could not even bring the supreme divine form of Raji Maharaj for humanity. But it was Sadguru Sri Devachandraji Maharaj and Mahamati Pranaji who brought this understanding to this world. Why 88,000 sages of Vedic origins and 115,000 messengers according to the Abrahamic religious traditions failed to bring this understanding to this world? It was because, let me make it clear, Sundar Saji, except for a Guruji, no one here attending the Zoom session has seen my home back in Nepal. None of you. So if someone asks you about my home in Nepal, you would fail to answer that. How tall is it? When was it built? How much did it take for his family to build that house? How many stories? How many rooms? How many bathrooms? You would not be able to tell that person. Now, if it is your house, for example, Surenji is attending the session. If I ask Surenji, tell me a little bit about your home here in Euless, Texas, he would be able to describe a lot about it in a greater detail. It is this story tall. It has this many rooms, this many bathrooms. I have a 2-door garage. It is on that particular street. I paid this much for the house. It was built in 2000 whatever year. He would be able to explain it all. Dear Sundar Saji, let me be clear here. Until Sadguru Sri Devachandraji and Mahamati Prannaji came to this world, as Sundarbai and Indravati consorts of Paramdham, no one had come to this world with the understanding of Paramdham. We came in Braja, as the cowmaids of Braja. We went to Ras to have the playful dance with Sri Krishna for that one night. Back then, in Braja and Ras, we were unaware of who we were. We were unaware of the fact that the Sri Krishna that we felt so close to, we were unaware that he was Raji Maharaj. We were completely left out of that understanding. But in the Jaganese Brahmanda, in the third universe of awakening, it is with Sadguru Sri Devachandraji Maharaj that the consorts of Paramdham began to come to this world. Until then, Mirabai was there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There were so many saints and sages and true devotees of Sri Krishna who did not have any understanding of Sri Krishna's eternal form and abode whatsoever, because they had not come from that abode. So how would they be able to tell to the world what the abode of Sri Krishna would look like? Because they were not the residents of Paramdham. Now, Devachandraji Maharaj and Mahamati Prahannaji, they are the residents of Paramdham. They are the Sundarbai and Indravati consorts of Paramdham. That is why they could explain this to humanity. As Mahamati said, Duni Dvaita Juba Chodake, Kahu Juba Kalaora, Kalama Kahu Arasa Jimake, Mahamata Baite Inathor. So Mahamati, the revelations of Mahamati Pranaji. So Hakka is Noor, Paramdham is Noor, Raji is Noor, Syamaji is Noor. Everything that is in Paramdham is Noor, meaning effulgent. So Noor, in a deeper sense, not only deals with the effulgence, the brightness, the glow, but it also deals with the fact that in Paramdham, everything feels the bliss. So when we say, like in our everyday conversation, when we see someone happy, what we say, your face is glowing, what's going on? They've got some happy news, good news. And when someone is sad, we say, your face looks dark. Is something bothering you? So in Paramdham, in a literal sense, effulgence meaning brightness, we understand that. But in a deeper sense, every moment, every single moment in Paramdham is full of bliss. The consorts are always smiling. The consorts always are in ecstasy, always in joy. Because as we said, in Paramdham, there is no fear of consequences. You do not have to fear for consequences. The world is completely opposite, isn't it? When we drive, when we eat, when we drink, when we sleep, everything we do, we have to be mindful of what we are doing. We have to be watchful of our actions. We have to be careful. And in terms of that, when we look at the world around us, as we have already said, the world is dukkhalaya, full of suffering, full of misery, full of stress, full of anxiety. That is the world that we live in. Everyone is worried about what happens next. Everyone is worried about his, her life. Everyone is worried about the career. Everyone's worried about the well-being of his or her family. So the feeling of stress and anxiety overwhelms everyone's persona, and it feels like everyone is troubled. So the sense of effulgence, the glow, is not found in the face of those who are lost in this world. Only the awakened souls would have the, the effulgence that we always find in the face of the consorts. So Paramdham is effulgent. It is stated that one sand particle, one dust particle in Paramdham releases the brightness equivalent to millions and millions of suns. The the brightness that comes out of these sand or dust particles from Chandani Chowk, the courtyard of Rangamahal, and the door, the main door, main entrance of Paramdham fight. The brightness fight, battle it out. Such is the glow of Paramdham. So in a literal sense, if we take it word by word, everything in Paramdham is so effulgent that it is blinding. If you do not belong to Paramdham, he would blind you. But for those who reside in Paramdham, for the consorts, it is soothing, it is calming. But the first attributes of Paramdham, on a literal sense and the deeper sense, I said, is effulgence, the brightness, the glow. That is the first attribute of everything that exists in Paramdham. The second one is consciousness. As Mahamati Prannaji says, चेतन कहावे झूठी जिमी ये सब जड़तु जान जो थीर कहावे अरसमे so chetana sada paravan. As Mahamati Prannaji says, what we say has life in this world, what we say is conscious in this world is actually lifeless. We say we have life, we move around, we have the mobility and things of that nature, but this life is there one day and not the next. So although it seems like we are conscious, we are alive, in a deeper sense, our life is so transient, so short-lived, it feels as if it is not alive. So in terms of that, Mahamati says, Chetana kahave jhuthi jimi ye sab jadatu jaan. But jo thira kahave arasame. So what seems to be lifeless in Paramdham, for example, the pillars that hold Rangamahal, the Yamuna river, it is lifeless, it seems. The trees, let's not call it trees, the dust, the window. What seems to be lifeless in Paramdham is actually jo thira kahave rasame, so chetana sada paravan, it is eternally living. The dust particles, when they get a chance to touch the lotus feet of Sri Rajyamaji, the dust particles begin dancing. Such is our Paramdham Sundarshan. The pillars release the fragrance when Raji Maharaj touches them. Every single thing, living or non-living, feels the blessing of Sri Raji Maharaj. When we look at Paramdham, for that matter, as we all know, Paramdham is eternal. Paramdham receives the glory, the blessing, the bliss of our Lord Supreme. Everything is conscious, alive, joyful in Paramdham. So that is the second attribute of Paramdham, consciousness. So from our worldly perspective, from our worldly understanding, it seems weird because a table does not move on its own. A chair does not move on its own. The dust particles do not bow down to us. They do not begin dancing when we pass by it. So from our logic, from our perspective, it seems too good to be true. But that's the fact in their sense. Chetanata, as we call it. Chetanata, consciousness, is one of the other attributes of Paramdham. Unless we are the consort of the Lord Supreme, these things sound too good to be true. But if we are, we have become a part of such consciousness forever. And currently, residing in Mul Milava, we have experienced that sub-consciousness. The third attribute of Paramdham is fragrance. Sugandha, as we say it, or Khusaboy. Everywhere you go in Paramdham, Paramdham is full of fragrance. The flowers, the plants, even river Yamuna, holy river Yamuna, the trees, the fruits, everything release fragrance. Compare that to the world in that sense. Basically, in this world, everything stinks. We stink. And what we try to do to minimize that stinkiness, that we put perfumes, colognes, body spray, we brush our teeth. The food that we bring to our house, if they are not prepared on the right time, they begin to give foul odor. Everything in this world is completely opposite of Paramdham in terms of fragrance. That is why what we do is we do Beerat first. We understand the true process of creation and everything that happens, such that we can fathom the greatness of Paramdham. And we are not from Paramdham. If we are not blessed with the Tartha mantra, we do not offer the sessions on the descriptions of Paramdham that it tells us, unless you have Kanti and Nirgala, this thing. Because it is misunderstood. It is beyond human logic. That is why Abrahamic and Vedic scriptures call God and his abode transcendent. Because it is something that we have never seen, never felt before. How could it be? How could everything in Paramdham release fragrance, while the world is completely opposite? The flowers here in this world, some of the flowers release some good fragrance, but when they are dead, what happens? They begin to stink. They begin to dry out. In Paramdham, not a single leaf drops from a tree. Not a single feather from a bird leaves the body of that bird. So how would we fathom it? How would we understand it? Because there's nothing like that in this world. So fragrance is the other attribute of Paramdham, as we call it, Khushboi in Sanskrit or Hindi. The other one is softness, naramai. In Paramdham, in a literal sense, the pillars, the buildings in this world would not be soft, they would be sturdy, they would be hard surface. But in Paramdham, even the solid surface would be soft, would be soft. And as it is said in Paramdham, when Raji Maharaj set us on one side of Ranga Mahal and on the courtyard of Ranga Mahal, in one of the forests, there is a battle between an elephant and a hare or a rabbit. And Raji Maharaj asked the consorts, do you think the elephant is going to win or hare or the rabbit is going to win? Kharayo, as we call it in Nepali, Kharayo and Hathi, the elephant and the hare. And consorts would naturally believe that it should be the elephant because it is so huge compared to a hare. And the consorts are divided, and as they are cheering for an elephant, what Raji does, Raji looks at O'Hare and gives O'Hare all the might possible. And O'Hare lifts the elephant and somersaults it. Hundreds of thousands of stories up in the sky. And the elephant comes down, somersaulting, rotating, and drops on the ground, lands on the ground. Yet, nothing happens to the elephant. It survives. It does not get wounded or hurt. And all the consorts keep cheering, dear Sundar Shah. Here in this world, if we fall off two-story building, it would break our bones, it would hurt our head, and we may be dead because the non-living things in this world mostly are sturdy, they are hard surface, but Paramdham, everything is soft. Now, when we go deeper into Naramai, the concept of softness, it's about the mutual feeling between the consorts and Raji Maharaj as well. Raji Maharaj always smiles. Raji Maharaj always respects these consorts. We say that the world is not as soft, the world is hard, the world is harsh, people are rude in this world. They do not treat you the way you would like to be treated. You are not given the respect for what you do, what you've done. The world is harsh. Paramdham, in the contrary, is soft. Everything. Naramai is the features, one of the features of Paramdham, one of the attributes, one of the characteristics of Paramdham Sandarshan. Raji Maharaj does not hold any grudges against the consorts. The consorts, none of them, 12,000, although they are divided into 40 groups with 300 consorts in one group, and they have the leaders in each group, there is no grudges. There is no sense of you and me. As we said, Udite tu pare jnanam naham yuthana kinchana. In Maheshwar Tantra, Lord Mahesh says, Once you are awakened, the feeling of you and I no longer exists. In Paramdham, no one holds grudges against each other. Everyone is respectful. Everyone cares about the other. Softness, naramai, humility, kindness, respect. You can give all the positive attributes to that. Such is our Paramdham Sundarshan. And now look at the world. You are never given the proper respect. You are never returned the favor that is done to others. It is so harsh. It is so hard to bear. A lot of people die because they are bullied all through their lives. Even those who should be taking care of us, who should be thinking about us, who should be concerned about us, we do not get that from them. So, softness, naramai. And finally, serenity, we call it coolness. Sitalata is the other attributes of Paramdham. Sitalata. Sitalata in terms, in a literal sense, it means, as we said, the brightness is blinding. It can make anyone blind. Every dust particle in Paramdham releases the brightness of millions of suns, as it is stated. So it should be so bright, yet, dear Sundar Shaji, it is serene, it is so cool that you do not feel the heat. You are not restless. You just sip it in and enjoy the coolness and serenity of that brightness. In this world, in the midsummer in Texas, it is unbearable. We cannot go out. The AC has to be turned on all throughout the day. Even when it is 9 o'clock during June or July, when it gets so hot that you want to go live in the freezer for 5 minutes to cool your body down. One sun makes our body heat so much. Imagine that, compare that to Paramdham. Every dust particle releases the brightness of millions of such suns. Naturally, we would tend to believe that then how could the consort live in such heat, such brightness? Yes, Sundar Shaji, in English, as it is said, built different. The consorts are built different for that matter. Serenity is one of the other attributes of Paramdham, Shitalat. Going deeper into meaning, serenity also deals with the fact that the words, the actions, the meetings, the leelas of Paramdham are serene. Sita. One conversation, a minute-long conversation with Raji Maharaj, gives us such infinite sense of bliss. The leelas, the dressing of other consorts, the other leelas of Paramdham soothes the consort, and they want to enjoy that moment all through their lives. There's Sundar Shaji. Here in this world, the world, as I said, is harsh. There's heat everywhere. Everyone is upset about one thing or the other. We complain a lot, don't we? Oh, my life. Oh, this politician. Oh, this corruption. Oh, this traffic. Oh, my job, my boss, this and that. Oh, the food. Everything. We are complaining about everything all the time, don't we? Because there is no serenity, there is no peace, there is no tranquility, there is no comfort in this world. So, living in this world with such senses, such logic, such understanding, if we try to understand Paramdham, it would be hard. It would be obviously hard. That is why the Vedas, the Abrahamic scriptures, instead of explaining them to humanity, they kept it a secret because they would not be able to convince people this is how Paramdham is. And as we've already said, there are other reasons too. Because as Lord Mahesha said, unraveling the secrets of Paramdham, unraveling Brahma Gyan, the knowledge, the understanding of the Supreme Being is equivalent to the sins one would accrue. Killing 1,000 children, 100,000 cows, deceiving one's spiritual master, true friend, and many more. It could be that reason why Paramdham was never unraveled until Satguru and Mahamati Pranaji came to this world. Dear Sundar Sati, think deeper about these concepts, these features of Paramdham: Nur, Chetanta, Kushaboy, Naramai, and Sitalata. Effulgence, consciousness, fragrance, softness, and serenity. And compare that to the world. You would not want to live in this world anymore when you truly contemplate, because the world after which, the world that we live in, after which we live, we will get to a place far, far, far incomparably better. So there is none to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. So contemplate deeper into this, and there's something. So, as we all know, Paramdham is made up of 25 paksha. We do not have the exact translation for that word. We just give it a word aspect. So just to make it clear, these are 25 spatial places, I could say, but I cannot explain it in the way it is explained. So as we call Paramdham, 25 Paksha Paramdham. So what are the compositions? What are the composites of Paramdham? As we would know, Damatala Kundaban jo hai Manik nehere ban ki so hai Paschim Chaugan bado ban kahiye पोखरा जी जमुना जी लही आठों सागर आठ दिन के ये 25 पक्षधाम नहीं के आठों सागर आठ दिन के ये 25 पक्षधाम नहीं के. So the 25 aspects of Paramdham, although there are many more that are not explained in the teachings of Mahamati Pranaji, as we already said, the description of Paramdham is infinite, cannot be brought into words, brought into measurements, but I tried it nonetheless, because without this, I knew that the awakening of the consorts would not have been possible, says Mahamati Pranaji. So to make us understand, to give us a place where we can rest our hearts and mind on, to meditate on. Mahamati Pranaji brings these descriptions to Sundarsa. Then what are the 25 aspects? The first one being the Dham. That is our primary residence. Ranga Mahal. It's a 9-story tall building in Paramdham. That is where most of the leelas, most of the sports between Raji, Syamaji, and the consorts take place. So once this Beerat session is over, and if we ever start the Charsani class, then we will have a detailed understanding of each and every story and what's there inside those stories. But for now, we just say that Dham or Ranga Mahal is the first. Ranga meaning bliss, Mahal meaning building. It is a blissful building where most of the leelas occur. The second one is Talao, Dhama Talao. So it is the Hausakoshar Talao. So if I have a picture, probably on the next slide, I will just show you where it is located and what it looks like. The third one is Kunjabana. It's Kunja Nikunja forest on the south side of Ranga Mahal. Manik, it's Manik Pahad. It's located on the south side of Ranga Mahal again. It's a 12,000-story tall building with millions of rooms inside it. So again, to know what it looks like, we'll have to get into the Sarsani class, which we are not doing today, or in this Beerat session. The other one, Ban, is Ban Ki Neher. The fifth one is Pashchim Chaugan. It is a large space made of sand. So it's like the beach, sea beach, but it is a dry beach in Paramdham. It's so huge. We participate in different leelas with Raji Maharaj in here. Badoban, Madhuban, Mahaban. These are the forests. These surround the Pukharaz Pahad and other buildings and structures in Paramdham. The eighth one is Pukharazji. So Pukharazji Pahad is one of the most majestic buildings in Paramdham. It is where the river Yamuna originates and comes to the east, turns to the west, and eventually turns to the south and goes and merges into Hausakoshar Talao. The ninth one is Holy Yamuna River or Jamunaji. These are the 9 aspects. So what are the others? So as Mahamati says, so on the basis of the picture here, this is Ranga Mahal. It's a 9-story tall. If you can see me moving the mouse across, this building is Ranga Mahal. So this is the courtyard. This is called Chandani Chowk. Those who are familiar with it, we know about it, but for Sera especially, it may be a little hard to grasp right now, but hold tight as we would go through the Beerat session, and eventually with you getting the Paramdham mantra, we would probably be able to explain all this to you in greater detail. So this is Dham, Ranga Mahal. This is where Raji Maharaj and the consorts reside. This is where Raji Maharaj rests during the night. Now, don't ask me, does he need to rest? It's part of the Leela. It's a part of Raji Maharaj sports with the consorts. So do not ask me he needs to rest. No, he does not. But it's a part of the Leela. And this is Talao. This is Hausakoshar Talao. Kunjabana. This is Kunjani Kunjaban surrounding Hausakoshar Talab. This is Chovis Hanski Mahal. It's a building with 24 sides. But like I said, I'm not going to explain all of that right now. The fourth one is Manik Pahad on the south side. It's hard to see. The screen does not fit it all, but it's a 12,000 story tall building, red in color. It's Manik Pahad. Banki Nehera is right across from Manik Pahad on the outskirts of Manik Pahad. It circumambulates everything. Pashtim Chaugan, I cannot see it. It's on the west side of Ranga Mahal. It is a beach type structure where we do the Leelas with Raji Shamaji. Badoban, Madhuban, Mahaban, if you see the forest around Pukharaji and all that, this is Badoban, Madhuban, Mahaban, these are the forests. Pukharaji, this structure that we see here is Pukharaji, from which Jamunaji originates, comes to the east, goes towards the south, and then eventually goes to the west and merges in Hauskosar Talao. And finally, this is Jamunaji. And across from Ranga Mahal is identical building where Akshar Brahma resides. That's called Akshardham. So this is a basic description of Paramdham. I could do this much for now, but if we ever get a chance to do Charsani, then we would explain every bit of details in it. So for now, this is all I would do. So we talked about this 9 aspects, and the 16 remaining aspects are the Jimmy and the Sagar. So this is Jimmy, this is Sagar, this is the ocean. And in between two land masses is the ocean. Between two oceans is the land mass. This is how it is constructed. It is the outermost structure of Paramdham, God's abode. And the name of the oceans are there: Nur, Neera, Chiradadi, Grita Madhu, Rasa, Sarbarasa. And the understanding of these all structures, especially the oceans and the land masses, would only be received by the awakened souls or the consorts of Sri Rasamaji. So these are the 25 aspects of Paramdham. Every bit of detail is found here in Mahamati Prana's description. So I have already talked about this. Why could no one prior to Sadguru and Mahamati Pranaji unravel the descriptions of Lord's abode? Why could not Mirabai do it? Why could not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do it? Why could not Surdas do it? Why could not the deities, Lord Mahesha, Lord Brahmaji, Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayana, Veda Vyasa, or any Vedic or Abrahamic scholars could not do it? The deities, no one could do it, because the fact is clear. The reasoning is very, very clear. It is a fact that nobody with the awakened consciousness came to this world from the abode of Sri Raja Maharaj prior to the coming of Sadguru and Mahamati into this world. So it is obvious that I think Guruji is the only one who has gone to my home back in Pokhara, back in Nepal. Nobody else has. So if you were to explain my house, you would not be able to, right? But if I have to give a description of my home, the color, the gate, the size of my lot, the front look, the back look, the surroundings, everything, I can give you the detail because I belong to that home. So Sadguru, Mahamati Pranaji, and the coming of 12,000 consorts who made it to this world are the only ones who could unravel. Now, once it's unraveled, anyone can explain it, but none of the scholars, none of the deities could explain Paramdham to the world because they did not belong in Paramdham. So it is that obvious.